Hello, welcome to Introspection with Samantha. In this episode, I want to explore the earliest movies I remember watching and see how they impacted on me in terms of personality. So let's get to it. So probably my earliest movie that I can remember, my earliest movies I can remember are Superman, uh, the Muppet Movie, and Return of the Jedi, in probably that order. Uh, I remember watching, I was familiar with Superman um, and the Muppet Show, probably the Muppet Movie in 1982. That was when I was living in Winnipeg, and I hadn't seen Return of the Jedi until it came out in 1983. By that time, I was living in Binghamton. Return of the Jedi was probably my first movie I had seen in a movie theater, but before that, I would watch movies on TV like The Sound of Music, probably The Wizard of Oz, Superman, probably the Muppet Movie because I had watched the Muppet TV show. I remember Mr. Dress Up. I remember Flintstones. I remember the Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny Hour, um, and I remember watching the Flintstones. I definitely remember watching I Dream of Jeannie. Um, so I had seen probably all my movies on TV, and Return of the Jedi was the first one I had seen in a theater. Um, so from Superman, I don't remember whether I had seen both Superman movies. Eventually I did. Sometime in middle school, um, I remember his altruism. I'm thinking back to the first movie. I remember liking his altruism, his devotion to helping other people, and you know, truth and justice really must have made an impact on me. Um, Let me see. Right, I put down great powers, using his great powers, his great abilities for noble purposes to help others. And that's about what I can remember from Superman. The Muppet Movie, um, the goal of making millions of people happy, I definitely remember that. And it's interesting considering my later interest in going to Hollywood and going into entertainment because this is a movie all about Kermit gathering up his friends or meeting his friends for the first time and going to Hollywood and making his dream come true. It must have made a big impact on me. So there are a bunch of themes I wrote down for the Muppet Movie, but one of the things that stands out is must stand up and confront a bully. This is a big moment in the climax, and also the importance of true supportive friends. That's a big moment for Kermit. A huge theme in the movie. Um, the goal, of course, I mentioned before, the goal about making millions of people happy. Um, Max, the assistant to the villain, switching sides near the end from the villain to Kermit and his gang of noble, happy people. And realizing now he was doing or helping out villainous activities, but at a young age, I probably picked up that he had the capacity within him to realize what should be and switch sides. So that probably told me that people can switch sides. That's something that comes up later in Return of the Jedi. And that you don't have to be steadfast and stick with it. You can change your mind. You can realize that you've been down the wrong path, and you can make amends. You can essentially, in some sense, say, "I'm sorry," and make things right. In Judaism, oh darn, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a concept. It literally refers to turning around. And I said before, standing up to a bully, confronting a bully. And the importance of true supportive friends. So now I want to move on to Return of the Jedi, which is the first movie I'd seen in a movie theater. One thing I put, persistence. Luke being persistent, despite the odds, despite his father being the Dark Lord and causing so much destruction. He's persistent. He keeps going and never gives up. And alongside that is his confidence. He's very confident. That doesn't mean that he doesn't question things, especially midway through the movie. But he maintains this air of confidence. There's a sense of hope through adversity, and that goes along with the confidence. And I put persistence, doing something doing something even though it feels uncomfortable, and seeing the good in others. That's what I was talking about before. Again, seeing his father, seeing the good in his father, and never giving up. And not only giving up, but pushing at his father until his father realizes at the end. And that's something too. I said hope before. Recognizing that other people can change, like Max, the person under the bully in the Muppet Movie, realizing that other people are capable of changing towards the good. Oh, and yes, I mentioned, going back to the Muppet Movie, interest in Hollywood. I'm sure I said that already. I loved, going back again to the Muppet Movie, I love that song, The Rainbow Connection. I was in such a rush to get this video out to you guys that I didn't elaborate on why The Rainbow Connection probably had such an impact on me. But I might do a video on that soon. The death, something I hadn't realized about myself until gathering the notes for this video. Yoda dies in Return of the Jedi, and we already see the ghost of Ben Kenobi. Now, I should preface this by saying that even though my mom took me to see the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, in 1977 when it came out, she told me that I fell asleep. So I hadn't actually gotten to see the movie, and I totally skipped by Empire Strikes Back. I think my mom at one point said that we were busy or we were doing other things or something like that. So Return of the Jedi was kind of ironic because it's the climax to the trilogy, but that doesn't mean that it didn't have a big impact on me. Um, so uh, um, so the death of Yoda, dealing with death as a child. Now I was born in the end of 1975, and Return of the Jedi came out in mid 1983. So I was probably about 7 at the time. So to a 7-year-old, um, the confronting death in a movie, uh, especially the death of someone like Yoda, a character like Yoda, um, and the ghost of Ben Kenobi, um, and also the Emperor. Also, let's not forget that his father dies at the end of the movie, sacrificing himself for his son Luke, um, and that must have made an impact on me. Um, Sacrificing oneself for the good of others, um, and then I would get some years later, 1986. Certainly by 1987, I was fascinated by Star Trek, um, and I'd watched The Search for Spock, the third Star Trek movie, um, in 1984 when it came out, and my mom said that I had seen Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which was a prequel to Star Trek III, on TV shortly after seeing Star Trek IV in the theater. She said that that's probably why I didn't emote, or it didn't seem to affect me when they were talking about, when Spock sacrifices himself, again a sacrifice for the good of the many. That's probably not why, she said, that's probably why it didn't cause me to feel emotion at the end of Star Trek II, because I had already seen Star Trek III in the theater. Um, so dealing with death, again, dealing with death at a young age, um, life must go on. I remember the end of Return of the Jedi, uh, him setting his father's suit ablaze. Life goes on. They're very happy at the end of Return of the Jedi. And you see, Luke sees at the end Ben Kenobi as ghosts, Ben Kenobi, Yoda, and his father smiling. His father has a very big grin. You don't see this in the remastered, the newer versions of Return of the Jedi, the newer releases, but you can still be able to see the original theatrical version. I encourage you to do that. Look up the original theatrical version of the ending of Return of the Jedi, and you see the original actor that you see in Darth Vader's suit in the climax of Return of the Jedi. He's grinning at Luke, and that caught my attention. There's pride in his face. I'm kind of tearing up now. Um, Luke has a sense of confidence on his face. He's very happy. He's gone through quite a bit, but having never lost hope in his father to be able to turn to the good side, the light side of the Force. And he's there with his new family. Leia is there. Han is there. The others are celebrating. And he takes that moment to recognize, and it's probably had something to do with me, that to recognize at that age that you should be able to not be afraid to go through difficult times um, and have hope and have faith. It may not always work out, but you can't let that not let you pursue trying to improve the world, um, and I'm sorry. I guess if I'm tearing up, it means I'm really letting out something. Um, I I guess I don't know what more I could say. I don't want this video to drag on. Um, I guess even I'll say even it showed me that even in spirit, like my mom's death, she's not alive anymore, but I know she's with me in spirit, or at least I like to think that she's with me in spirit. Um, it just watching that movie then gave me a lot of hope. Um, and also that thing about being seduced by the dark side of the Force, um, which is something that the Emperor wanted Luke to have to go through. He wanted Luke to succumb. Now, what does that mean, succumb? So being seduced. Um, Even though I hadn't seen the first two movies, I must have caught at that age what the seduction meant. Um, it's giving into your evil impulses. I don't like to use the word evil, giving into your destructive, negative, angry impulses. Um, and that's something, actually, come to think of it, that's something that Luke struggles to avoid. Remember, he's in the throne room and the Emperor is seducing him, trying to get him to give in to his anger, give in to his fear, all those destructive emotions. Um, and that certainly made an impact on me. Um, Not letting myself be seduced by the dark side, by fear, by anger, by anger, more than just anger, reacting, um, making foolish decisions out of anger. You're cloud mind. You're clouded. You're clouded in your thinking. You don't make good decisions. You don't think straight. And I'm not sure if I had seen this at the time, if I had understood this at the time. I might have. But in seeing the first two movies, especially the second movie, that's why Yoda's comment about um, when you're calm, you can. He, in so many words, he tells Luke that he can recognize the dark side of the Force, when he's clear-minded, when he's calm, because when you're calm, um, you can things are slower. You don't feel this pressure on you. Um, you don't feel this time constraint. I must do things right now. I've got to react. You become very impulsive when you're in the dark force. When you have clouded thinking. You feel this urge and the tug, and you might be urged and drawn and pulled toward anger, toward negative emotions. I'm sorry, I'm saying angry like 15 times in this video, but you get the idea. Um, and I want to say that those are the movies that made the most impact on me as a child. And I've got to say something about Star Trek a few years later. Now, Return of the Jedi came out in 1983, and I didn't get into Star Trek until I saw Star Trek 4 in 1986. Although I had seen, as I said, I had seen Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3 before that, probably in 1984 when I had seen Star Trek 4 when it came out. Um, but I remember identifying with Spock very much. Spock is half Vulcan and half human. Um, so I remember, especially when I learned that I was Jewish. All right, let's get some sense of chronology. My life. Um, I liked Spock earlier. Before that, I liked Spock because he was smart. Um, he was rational, and again, thinking about it now, he was a calm character. They were all very calm characters, but he was rational. He was logical. He didn't. He wasn't prone to rash actions or rash decisions. Um, and then when I learned that I was Jewish, probably 1988, when I was in or sixth grade, or the summer between sixth grade and seventh grade in middle school. Um, and I started developing, especially in high school, middle school, and then especially in high school. I remember thinking about how ostracized Spock felt, how different Spock felt, and yet how noble he was, because he was part of a Vulcan society that was smart, was mature. They had overcome their hostilities in favor of rationality and philosophy. And I think about Judaism in very much the same way: advanced, certainly much older, um, and very rich and wealthy in terms of art and science and contributions to greater society, the non-Jewish world. Um, and so, like Spock, I was very proud of being Jewish. Um, so that impacted upon me very much. So I hope I'm not forgetting anything. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like content like this, I explore who I am as a person, understanding myself. So if you enjoy exploring yourself, what makes you tick, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. So long.